Hey, Cats fans. Well, it's finally happened. One of the greatest Cats, one of the greatest AFL players of all time, has finally announced that he's going to retire at the end of the 2024 season. Tom Hawkins, 18 years in the caper, came in to the league as a chubby, but very, very promising 17-year-old father-son, grandfather, father-son, third-generation AFL player, third-generation player. Yeah, it's sad news for all us Cat supporters. Maybe sad news for AFL fans. Clearly, there's a few out there that never really liked Tom over the years, but I'd say most of us, whether you bleed blue or white or whether you just love AFL footy, have to respect the guy for what he's done. 3 premierships. I'll go through all the accolades in a moment, but yeah, just initial thoughts on how I'm feeling, I suppose. I think most of you who watch me and have seen a bit of post game live or anything other stuff I do on this channel know that I thought Tom was probably going to call it this year at some stage. I felt it was probably unlikely he'd go on next year, and I like Selwood before him. I didn't want him to go on so long that it, for his sake more than anything else, that he would have a really tough run at it. It's probably not been the year that he would have wanted to finish on, but in saying that, it's not over yet, is it? So we've got he's due back probably after the St Kilda game, round 24 against West Coast. Cats are looking like they're going to play finals, so he is very, very likely to come into the 23. I'm not sure if it's at the expense of Shannon Neal. The coaches will work all that out, but you'd think he'd play the West Coast game to get at least a game under his belt before the finals, and then we'll see what happens in September. Hopefully his body holds up. Hopefully we can find room for him and the others. But let's just take a moment, if you'll indulge me. I want to go through some of the accolades for Tom, and we've all heard them all over many times before, but let's just do it again. So, as I said off the top, 18 years in the game, 359 games and counting, 796 goals and counting. He's only 4 away from the magical 800 number. He's currently ranked 13th all time in the AFL, not far off. What's his name? Richo from Essendon. So Matthew Richardson. So if he gets there with another 4, he'll equal Richo. If he gets 5 over the next 2 or 3 weeks, he'll slip into 12th spot on the ladder, which would be great for him. 3 premierships, 3 daytime premierships in 2009, 2011, and most recently in 2022. Let's not forget he had a night premiership in there in 2009 and a VFL premiership in 2007. He didn't actually play in the 2007 AFL Grand Final or the losing Grand Final to Hawthorn in 2008. But that's okay. He's been there the whole way. He's the guy pretty much. It's been there since 2007, since we started this run. Joel Selwood clearly retired a couple of years ago and was on that journey with him as well. But Hawkins is really the last man standing from that era. So for me, having been a passionate supporter of Geelong through that whole period, and probably really late 90s when I really started to take it seriously, a couple of maybe 8 years before Tom came on board. I've seen the whole career of Tom. Goodness me, does it make you feel old when a bloke's played 18 years and they still seem incredibly much younger than you? But yeah, incredible. A couple more. Coleman medal, fantastic in 2020 during the COVID era. Absolutely dominated the competition in a shortened season. A 5-time All-Australian. There's not many players that can say they're 5-time All-Australians. You've got to be an absolute star to do that. A 1-time Cardew Greaves medalist. Probably could have won a couple more there. That's a bit surprising, but let's be honest, he's in one of the all-time great teams in the AFL. So there's probably a few players that could have won a Cardew Greaves that didn't in their time. I don't think Stevie J won one, did he? But this is the big one for me. 11 times leading goal kicker at the football club. 11 times. Gary Ablett Sr. didn't even do that. He didn't always play up forward, clearly, but Tommy Hawkins, to be that consistent over that long, what an absolute champion. An absolute champion. Now, you're probably wondering, where's the highlights reel of Tom Hawkins? Look, I'll try to put something together. I will. It won't be on this video. The YouTube generally blocks some videos for a few hours or a few days while they're doing letting the AFL do copyright checks on any footage. But I did want to go through some of the highlights, some of the best games in Hawkins' career. Maybe you'll agree with me, maybe you won't. But I thought I'll start with the games that he polled 3 Brownlow votes in. And so and you might see some themes here. He loves playing in a round 5 game. He absolutely loves playing in round 5 games. A couple of 3 votes, 3 times he's got the 3 votes in round 5 games. Around 19 games he loves as well. So I'll go from the top anyway. So round 5, 2012, Brisbane, 6 goals. Round 19, 2012, again, 6 goals. Round 5, as I said, bit of a theme. 2014, Hawthorn, 5 goals. That was a great game, that one. Round 19, 2017, Carlton, 6 goals. Round 18 versus Melbourne. Happy birthday, Tom Hawkins. It was on that day. 7 goals, including 4 in the last, mind you. That for me was probably the game. Oh, you'll say, what about that Hawthorn game where he kicked it after the siren? We'll come to that. Don't worry. Round 19 against Brisbane again, another 7 goals. Thank you. Back-to-back weeks of 7 goals. What was he doing that week? Unbelievable. Round 5, 2020, the COVID era, as I said, only 3 goals, but no one was kicking goals in the COVID era. Remember, teams were averaging about 50 points a game. It was crazy. I don't know what was going on there. Round 12, 2020 again, Port Adelaide, 6 goals. He just went on a tear against Port Adelaide in that game. Round 4, 2022, the premiership year versus Brisbane again. Poor old Brisbane, 5 goals. Round 7 versus Essendon, a lazy 8 goals in the country game. And round 18, 2023 versus Essendon again, another 5 years. 13 goals in 1 year against Essendon. Then again, Gary Ablett Sr. did it 14 goals in 1 game. But it was a different era. It's harder to kick goals for big forwards in this era. So some absolute great games from Tom. It was about 10 or 11 or something like that. Best on ground performances in a 359 career. 59 game career. So, you could make an argument forwards don't get much love from the umpires. He probably could have had a few more in there. He definitely had a lot of second best on grounds, but, for the sake of this video, I'm not going to go through that necessarily. But let's talk about some memorable moments, shall we? There's a few. I've noted, they're not in any particular order, but as I was sitting there this morning, just thinking of reflecting on his career and what comes to mind. For me, it's probably the single biggest one. And again, it's not the goal after the siren against Hawthorn. It's the handoff to Jordan Clark in the goal square when he had 50 metres on his own. Well, not 50 metres, but he had about 30 metres on his own. Could have easily kicked the goal. Jordan Clark had never kicked a goal in AFL footy before. He's like, Geordie, come and get it, mate. And he handballed it off to him, and that was the end of that. And Geordie kicks his first goal, and everyone gets around him. And I just thought, for me, that's Tom Hawkins to a T. That's just who the man is. And yeah, I already loved him, but I was like, oh, you are a star. You are an absolute legend of this football club, not just because of what your footy deeds, but you're just an amazing person. And that's only what we see on the camera, people. We hear all the stories about how wonderful a human being he is. But yeah, if that's some kind of indication as to who the man is, well, I'd love to get to know him off the field. It'd be fantastic. All right, so we talked about. Let's talk about the Hawthorn kick after the siren. Yeah, it was a crazy game, that one. 6 goals for Hawkins in that game. We remember the goal after the siren. We don't necessarily remember. He kicked 3 goals in the last quarter as well. He was just going crazy. He was unstoppable, the beast, the big T-bone at one point in that quarter. Cats had no right to win that game in that last quarter, but we came from the clouds, and Tommy Hawkins just marks it on about 50, 51 metres out. And I'm like, oh, geez, that's a lot of pressure on a young kid. I mean, he's not, it was at 5 years into the caper at that stage, but geez, that's a lot of pressure on the young man. Go back and, geez, will he make the distance? Is he going to stretch it? Did he make the distance? Goodness me, it nearly went post high from 55, 60 metres out. I'm going to throw a bit of mayo on it for Tom, but yeah, it was a fair kick from a long range and never looked in doubt. And poor old Stevie J is still dealing with back issues today, trying to lift him off the ground at that point. Didn't work, but didn't the boys get around him? That was fantastic. And I know for a lot of Cats supporters, it'll be the moment that they'll remember the most about Tom Hawkins, as they should for most people. But for me, it was the selfless act, which typifies who that man is as a footballer. He could have kicked 1,000 goals in AFL footy, 296 goal assists and counting. So, he only needs 4 more. Now, will he get that? Probably not. I wouldn't have thought. A little bit doesn't get as much possession as he used to get, but it's still possible. You never know. It can still happen. We have to talk about 2011 grand final. That was that's probably a close third for me. And I didn't do this in any particular order, but as it's coming to my mind, as I'm sitting here right now, thinking, yeah, this is probably his third. That second half in the 2011 grand final, those 3 goals he kicked, and then just absolutely ragdolling Ben Reid at every opportunity. Ben Reid still wakes up in the middle of the night these days. I'm sure of it, in sweats, and he's screaming, and his wife has to calm him down and wrap him up. Hawkins just absolutely exploded that day, and we saw the coming of a man, coming of a champion. What happened? I don't know. All his teammates were just shocked. Like, who is this man? I think Hutto said it best. Anthony Hudson. Who is this man? It was terrific. It was absolutely terrific. Let's play the grab again. Yep. I think that was in the third quarter after he might have kicked it off the ground at that point. We did have an episode of Post Game Live a few weeks back where Paul was on in the background playing that little sandbite over and over and over. That was fun. The 2022 grand final, the first quarter, probably more to the point, just winning those ruck contests and throwing it on his boot and getting us off to a 2-goal lead early. That was incredible. Those memories of that day. Tommy Hawkins just doing what he needed to do early, and then I think he might have kicked 3, maybe 4 goals that game. My memory's a little bit. I've got so many things I've written down about Tom Hawkins, I can't remember them all off the top of my head. In terms of all the excruciating, all the detail about it anyway, at least. The 8 goals against Essendon, we talked about that, where he got the 3 Brownlow votes. That was incredible. He'd never kicked 8 goals before, and he's doing that as a 35-year-old or whatever he was at the time. Insane. The fact that poor old Essendon, you'd think that they were the team that he beat up on the most, but I believe it was Brisbane, really. He probably just torched Brisbane more times than we remember. On a sad note, the 150th game he played, his milestone game, had the week off. He would have played it the week earlier, but his mum passed away. So Tommy took some time off to be with friends and family and to go to the funeral. And a lot of his teammates, pretty much almost all of his teammates, flew up there as well or drove up there to be at the funeral as well. But played in the game, 150 against North Melbourne at Kardinia Park and kicked a goal. That was in 2015, and everyone just got around him and showed him a lot of love, and that would have been pretty hard for him to get out there as well. But that was a very emotional time, clearly for him. But anyone who cares about Tommy at the club and fans watching him go about his business all those years, it was a bit of a tough time there. His 500th goal, another milestone goal, was a match winner, a match sealer against Essendon. Poor old Essendon. Tommy Hawkins says hi. Round 19 versus Carlton, a lazy 27 touches. Round 19, 2017, 27 touches and 6 goals. Thank you very much. Can you imagine a midfielder these days doing that? Insane. What was he doing? The most possessions he's ever had in a game, 27 touches. Round 18, 2018 against Melbourne. We talked about this one, the 7 goals, and including the 4 goals in the last quarter on your birthday. And he probably won't be remembered that well for that game because Zach Tui kicked a goal after the siren. So Zach Tui stole his thunder a little bit there, but I'm sure Hawkins was happy to get the win on his birthday there. But that was probably one of the all-time great games. If you can watch that highlights or the whole game of that one, go back to that. Maybe just started in the third quarter. That's probably where you want to start that game, I reckon. Round 5, 2009 versus Brisbane, 20 touches, 9 tackles, and he was just everywhere. Young Tom Hawkins, third year in the game, 9 tackles, kept Brisbane to their lowest score at that time in their club history. His just pressure around the ball was insane. Again, if you can try and watch that game, check out Tommy Hawkins going about it. It's one of those games you probably won't see on any highlight reel. It was a bit of an ugly game for Richmond, but Tommy Hawkins, the things he was doing in his third year in the game was incredible. We all know about his debut against Carlton in 2007, round 2, 3 goals on debut. Dennis Pagan was comparing him to Tony Lockett. He looked great, but do we remember the following week where, which we don't see as much, but 4 goals in the first half against Melbourne at the MCG? Who is this man? Who is this man? Second game of AFL footy, kicking 4 goals in a half. Didn't do much after that. And look, for the rest of 2007, sort of struggled a bit with fitness and so forth. But and in 2008 as well, probably didn't quite get his body right until 2009, which is, you can understand, he made the grand final side that year and never really looked back after that, even though his form fluctuated a little bit until that grand final in 2011 and beyond. But yeah, it was good to see him sort of start getting his body right around that time. One last one or 2 last ones. The round 15 game in 2014 versus Essendon again. It was the game where he kicked the sealer at the end, running in towards goal, just tapping it in front of him, running onto it, kicked the goal, run up to a Geelong fan in the middle of about 1,000 Essendon supporters. Gave him a big hug in the crowd. That was great. And then just a little highlight from Tommy against GWS. I don't know what game it was. It would have been maybe 8 years ago. He kicks it off the ground from 55 metres on the boundary, and it goes through for a goal. It was incredible. So yeah, just some thoughts from me around Tom's career, some milestones, some accolades. The most games played at the club, clearly. Just overtook Joel Selwood recently. Tom Selwood, there you go. Some other thoughts on Tom. We all know he's a father-son. Some of us may not know his granddad also played for the club as well. He was asked at his press conference, or his retirement press conference the other day, is his children going to play? Leave him alone. Give him a break. Maybe, but maybe they'll just like watching footy. Not ever. It's pretty crazy to have 3 generations of a family playing AFL football. So hopefully they'll enjoy being supporters of the football club. But yeah, if they play footy, that's great. It'd be fantastic. I reckon there'll be a few father sons from the premiership eras of 2007 to 2022. But let's just wait and see how we go with that. There might be a couple coming through the Falcons ranks and unders as we speak, but we'll see. Some other thoughts. In the 2009 grand final, he hit the post. Even though it was called a goal, he did hit the post. And then in 2011, who was it? I think the Collingwood player, his name escapes me for the moment, but he also hit the post. So it was Tommy and that other bloke. It led to a change in the way the umpire, they brought in the score review system after that. It was just too many of those situations in big grand finals, can you believe it, where they just paid a goal when it shouldn't have been a goal. And so, yeah, a change came there. He pretty much changed the ruck sort of role, the big key forward role. Hawkins became a massive, massive reason why we won that 22 premiership, because of what he was doing in the forward in the forward 50, rucking and tapping it to advantage. There was no ruckman. There was no forward line that could stop what he was doing. They hadn't worked it out. Now they probably have now, but for about 2 or 3 years there, they had no answers for him. Absolutely no answers, and no one else was doing it before him. He was absolutely dominant in that. Every ruckman that came near him, they had no chance. But I think teams are setting up a little bit better now. But for a couple of years there, it was just insane. I've always loved his relationship with Joel Selwood. That's always been special to see. And look, he's played a lot of games with a lot of players at the football club. There's probably a handful of guys he's played 200 games with. Mitch Duncan, the other one that comes to mind immediately. Probably Blitzards might be maybe another one there. I'm not sure who's coming up. Maybe Guthrie could be there as well. We know Guthrie's missed a fair chunk of footy in the last couple of years, but there's another one there. For those that watched a bit of YouTube back in the day, back about Cats TV about 11 years ago, there was a show Hawkins used to host called Down at Kidinia Park. I used to love watching that. I was used to consume every little bit of footy content I could get from the club back in the day. But Hawko would run around with his microphone annoying all the older players, him and Shannon Burns. So you can still see those videos on the club's YouTube channel. So if you just go and search for their videos and then just look at the oldest ones, you'll see them in there. And it gives me a bit of a laugh even today, just seeing him just talk to some of the old boys. He just seemed to have a way with everyone. He could talk to the old guys. He could talk to the young guys. He's been loved his whole career. He's an amazing. And a funny one that for me, I don't know if you've seen this meme, but there was a Shooting Stars meme where Hawks took a bit of a dive at one point, and there's a little clip out there of him just going along with that Shooting Stars meme. So check that one out. As I start to wrap things up, though, some just thoughts on some challenges over his career. Look, he came into the comp as a 17-year-old bull. A lot of expectations on the young guy. He didn't get picked one, but I think most people said he would have gone number one if not for the father-son rule. So, yeah, there's clearly a lot of expectation on him. And you come to a football club like Geelong where we've been looking for the next Gary Ablett Senior for so long. Kent Kingsley, thanks for your efforts, but we moved him on at the end of 2006, and then Hawkins was drafted, and was like, okay, we're going to give games to Tom Hawkins, and Kent Kingsley, you might not get you much opportunity, but there's a lot of pressure on Tom, and even for those first 5 years, really, like people were asking, is he going to make it? He's frustrating. We had Nathan Ablett there at the time as well that was getting games ahead of him at stages. Clearly played in that 2007 grand final ahead of Tom. So there was a lot there. As I said, Tom didn't play in the 2007 2008 grand finals. He had that back injury. I think it was 2013. He might have had a breakout year in 2012. 2013, he had that back injury, and he was getting boos from the Geelong crowd at one point. People, if that was you, unfollow this channel, please, because you shouldn't be booing Tom Hawkins. Have an opinion about whether you think he's in our best 23 right now, but I can't believe you're booing him back then. That's crazy. Back injury. He was struggling a lot during that year, and I actually thought maybe, we probably didn't really understand the extent of his injury, but yeah, he didn't look like he was going to be much good. He couldn't turn sideways, just run in a straight line. I'm like, God, he's not even that old. That's what he looks. What he's kind of looked like towards with his injuries this year and his struggles with form. That's what he looked like as a young man about 10 years ago with that back injury that he had. So, look, the 2020 grand final loss is a hard one, but some of the other players have lost grand finals as well. But that'll be a tough one to swallow. We had that game at one stage there, and then another bloke who's also retired in the last 24 hours, Dustin Martin, took it away from us pretty much on his own. So, unfortunately, we lost one there. There's all the preliminary finals we lost as well that Tommy will probably still burn for him a little bit. You can't win them all, and like a good club, we just keep fronting up the next year and trying again, and eventually you get your opportunities, and sometimes you take them, but you put yourself there long enough. Hopefully you get a few along the way, and he has. So there's a chance for a fourth. Let's hope everything goes well for the Cats over the next couple of months. There's 3 games to go in the regular season. We'll probably play at least a final, but we'll see where to from there. How deep can we go in September? Can we win 2 or 3 or 4 finals? Hopefully we somehow sneak a top 4 spot. I think we need things to go away for that to happen. But if Tommy's body can hold up and we can find, can we find a spot for him? We'll find a spot for him. I'm worried about how it'll fit, how it'll look, how the forward line will look, and what that does when he's been out for so long. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But where to now? Where to now for Tom? He's not really committed to anything at this stage. I think he's just looking forward to not having to worry about the next week. He just wants to retire at the end of the year and spend some time with the family, the kids, going to some sport, going on a holiday or 2 probably, having some quiet time around the farm, not really thinking too far ahead. Look, maybe he is, and he's just not ready to share that with everyone yet. But I imagine he's also just like, I really love the quiet life. I really like spending time with the family, my friends, having an extra wine or 2, growing the beard a bit longer. Maybe he'll play some local footy. Who knows? He's talked about maybe playing a game up at Finley again. It's a bit of he's saying it's an 8-hour return trip for him to do that. I imagine he will at some stage. He'll do something like that. Maybe he'll just be a stay-at-home dad, and Emma will go off and have a career for the next 10 years or so, and Hawkins will just do his part-time farm life. That'll be the way to go. So anyway, that's just some thoughts from me, everyone. Thank you for watching. It's been a tough 24 or 12 hours probably now since we heard the news about Tom calling it a day. As I said, we all thought it was probably going to come, but it never makes it any easier, does it? These things are always hard to take. And for me, it's probably the saddest thing. And I love the guy, but the saddest thing is just it feels like the end of an era for the football club. It was when Joel retired, but now it definitely is, because Hawkins is the last person standing still. Yeah, there's some players still around the club in coaching roles and administrative roles and so forth from that era. But in terms of players, Hawkins is the last domino to fall. 18 years it took. That this era has gone for 18 years. Hopefully it continues. Hopefully there's a legacy there that he'll leave behind. But we'll wait and see. But for now, Tom Hawkins, on behalf of the Hoops crew, on behalf of, can't speak on behalf of all Cats Twitter and social media, but I think most of us would say we wish you the best. We thank you for everything you've done for this magnificent football club. We thank your family for supporting you along the way and letting you be the best you can be. And we're going to miss you, Tom. We really will. We're going to miss you. We hope to see you around the club. We hope you're not a stranger to the footy world. We love you, and go well in whatever future endeavours you have on the cards for you, mate. Thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Paul's been putting out some videos. I think he'll put a scratching post video out as well. We've got the Patreon there, 7-day free memberships if you want to check that one out at the moment. There's plenty more good stuff. I'm about to record a news wrap for the week as well. I will be touching on Tom Hawkins in that as well. But this is probably the big video I'll put out about Tommy. Hopefully you liked it. Hopefully it's brought back some good memories for you as well. Let us know in the comments what you think, some of the happy memories from Tom, how you're feeling about the news, and where you think the rest of this season will go for the Cats. And can Tommy join Joel Selwood as a four-time premiership player at the Cats? That's me out, guys. Go Cats. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.